I have so much love and compassion for you. And I think what's first is to tell you, none of that shit is your fault. The way your mother responded and reacted to you, the way your mother betrayed you, the way that man betrayed you, that is all a reflection of those people and what they've experienced in life and what is acceptable in their brain and their brain chemistry. There's nothing you could have ever done to have gotten a different outcome from those people, even still to this day. You know how in the work, and even more so, I talked about it the first time you went through program, that there is different levels to forgiveness, right? We talk about when people think of forgiveness, they typically think of things like redemption. And redemption is pretty much what Jesus did, right? I will pay the price. Everything is forgotten. You don't have to pay a cost for what you did. That is what most people think forgiveness is. But remember, we have so many different options in how we choose to forgive. And forgiveness could look like, I will forgive you. However, first, you have to pay restitution, right? Mm-hmm. That's pay for the damages that you've done, right? When you go to court and a judge says you are guilty, then you can get redemption, baby, after you do your time to society. And so it sounds like what you're saying is, I want to forgive them, but they have not yet paid the cost that I believe needs to be paid for my forgiveness to matter. And something that is so painful more than forgiving people is forgiving people who don't want to fucking be forgiven. And so you'll sit here and you'll struggle and you say, I need to forgive these people. I need to forgive these people. I need to let it go. I need to be a bigger person and a better person. I need to be able to look at them and still have love and joy and all of this thing in my heart. But the truth is, baby, they don't give a fuck about your forgiveness. They're not being eaten up by it. And so when you realize that they have moved on with their life and they have continued their behavior, then I think we have an opportunity to say, this is less about me forgiving them and me moving forward with my life. It becomes so hard to forgive when you're constantly wishing you could go back in time and change that thing. When you're constantly wishing that in the future people will show up differently. I promise that forgiveness will get so much easier for you after acceptance. That is what they did, that is who they are, that is not the experience I wish to have in my life, that these are now my boundaries because I need to be protected from them. How do I know you need to be protected from them? Because every time you're in a room with them, every time you hear their name, you have a volatile, rageful reaction. And rage and anger is literally fear. That is the little girl in you saying, fuck those people. They are not safe. Get the fuck away from them. We are shutting down. We are doing everything we can to fuck up the vibe so they don't think shit is sweet around here. Because if they think shit is sweet, they'll take advantage of us as they did before. So what does it look like for you to figure out that this is what it was? They're going to be who they're going to be. I'm going to protect myself in any way that I need to. And it sounds like not allowing those people in my world because what I need from them, safety, respect, honoring, they can't give. And what you're asking for is the bare fucking minimum. And so for these people in our lives, especially people who are like in the parental role, we've got this assignment in our head, what it means for someone to be our mother. And we're so confused and we continue to try to force and push people back in that box. But you're my mom, get in the box of nurturer. But you're my mom, get in the box of protector. But you're my dad, get in the box of loving. And then we spend our whole life begging people to get in the fucking box. And at some point we have to realize that they have no desire to meet those definitions. And instead of forgiveness, we set them free of all expectation and access to our world. Every time you see those names of the people who betrayed you, every time you are in a room or in a house that smells like they smell, or you hear a word, or you see a feature on somebody, a sibling or whomever that reminds you of that person, the reason why you have such a visceral reaction is because the brain does not know what time is. So when you get triggered, you time travel back to the moment that happened. And then you're wondering, why is it that it's been 25 years and me as a 30-something-year-old woman am having the same reaction I did 16, 17, 20 years ago? It's because your brain teleports back to who you were when you were then. And even just think about it on a lighter level. You know, I have friends who are from the South or from the East Coast, and they've been here in California for a long time. And when I'm talking to them, I could barely tell that they're from a different region. But as soon as they go back home for a little bit, or as soon as they talking on the phone with their people, them accents come out. It's the same way. It starts to trigger that. I know that my personality changes when I get around some of my siblings in a good way. I get more playful. I turn into a baby sister. When my big brother, who I love and who is the one that I rock with, when I'm with him, I turn into a little prankster. They used to call me Britteny Do Too Much because I just can't stop playing. But I'm not like that anywhere else. It's because my brother triggers that in me. And so keeping in mind that because you haven't let the past be the past and you haven't accepted it and found ways to move forward, every time something comes up in that realm, you're going to get triggered and snatched back into the reality that you had at the time, which is why what the work that we're doing here is so important, because it's really hard to want to fuck up a good day, right? When you're having a good day, you're like, I just want to live in this good day. But the whole point of program is to fuck up a good day while you have the cognizance, while you're not triggered to process and deal with it. Because if you wait until you smell that smell or hear that name to start thinking about how to be healthy and move forward, you're not in a safe place mentally. So it's waking up, it's doing the meditations, it's asking yourself those questions, it's allowing yourself time to sit and reflect on it. And the fact that you've gone through program again and none of this stuff even came up says that you've done the work. We always think it's about being ready. Sometimes you got to get ready to get ready to get ready. And sometimes it takes 2-3 rounds to be ready. The only other, parting advice I would have is, and this is really good for us as mothers too, when we're setting our boundaries, we want to say, don't do this, don't do that, right? Don't leave your plate here. Don't say her name in my presence. But what's really helpful, if we want to help the people around us honor our boundaries, is to tell them what to do instead of what not to do. So instead of telling your child, don't leave your plate on the table, you say, when you're done eating your food, please put your plate in the dishwasher. So instead of saying, don't mention that name, you can figure out a way to say, conversations about your day makes me really happy. Do you want to tell me about your day? Oh, you're talking about things. I want to talk. I want to stay in light. I want to stay in joy. And so you'll have to find your own words of how you can iterate those boundaries. And I know it's like, well, why do I have to do the work to figure out how to talk to people who don't talk to me right? Because living in that energy doesn't bother them. It fucking bothers you. So we got two choices: leave the motherfuckers in the past, or I call it renegotiate the relationships, right? For me, because I used to have wild anxiety, and I know we talk about it a lot, and I think the anxiety that you experience now is reflective of what I was like in my late teens and early 20s. Like, I would just get so overwhelmed that I would faint, right? And when I decided I'm no longer that person, I remember being on the phone with my mom, and I'm like, oh, this sort of situation is really causing me a lot of stress. And she's like, well, don't go passing out, because you know how you do. But I no longer identified that as a person. And so what those kind of conversations could look like, and what it looks like with my parent at the time, was, hey, I know I can't tell you what to think about me, but I can tell you I don't want to hear it. Hey, I know you raised me and you think you know me, but I believe myself to be somebody different, and I'd like to introduce myself to you. I know it sounds like, and coming from a Black family, that those are the kind of sentences that get you made fun of, but then that also lets you know you ain't with the shit. You are not dedicated to my mental health, and I can separate myself from this relationship with less guilt. Because I keep hearing that, but she's my mom. Honestly, and I love my mother, and we've done so much healing. I don't give a fuck about that. But I'm my me. And yes, I will never get another mother, but I will never get another me. My partner says this, and I love it so much. He says, nobody gets to live above your boundaries. And if he ever catches me doing little things where somebody is, pushing my boundaries or disrespecting me in the least bit, he always said, I just want you to know that no one gets to live above your boundaries. There are times when I cuss somebody out and then I'm like thinking for 2 weeks, like, damn, bitch, you ain't got to do all of that. And there are times where I just be like, it's not worth it. And for 2 weeks, I'm like, you should have fucking stood up for yourself. And this whole purpose of Get With The Shift is us realizing when to stand up and when to back down. And that's you asking what needs are being met in this conversation. What's the end goal? And I have so many stories around that, just going into a conversation with your boss or your partner, or your friends or yourself. It's always important to say, what is my end goal? What is my end goal? I've been really obsessed with the movie Inside Out too. And I was reading about how they write movies. And what they do is they write the entire movie, they get to the end, and then they go backwards and rewrite the movie in ways that the ending makes sense. Not to override or really tell you to lean into your anxiety and make up all of these scenarios, but I think we can use that anxiety we feel towards people who have wronged us, towards people who cause such a pungent reaction from us to say, okay, I have enough data. Three interactions is enough data collection to say my brain has an idea of how this is going to go. And so when I go into the court for, this custody battle, when I go into a room with my boss asking for a raise, when I go into my kids' room and ask them, to do their chores, what is the end goal? Is it to be right or is it to get my needs met? And either way, how can I do it in a way that is authentic to me, that upholds my core beliefs about myself so that I am not abandoning in the process? Because we don't want to win, but at what cost? And we don't want to lose because it's easy. And it feels like such a tight rope, and it is. But here's the difference. In the past, we followed society's rules and we got results that didn't quite work for us because it didn't take into account the nuances of who you are. But what we're doing right now is figuring out what your rules are. So whereas in this story I was telling you, my daughter, her rules are, I'm not going to go back and forth with somebody more than 2 times. And mine is, I'll go back and forth with you as many times as it requires. However, I'm not going to raise my voice, call you a bitch out of anger, or point out anything that's irrelevant to the conversation that we're having. So you figure out what your rules of engagement are, and then you only play your game, quite frankly, because we're all playing a game. Even if you don't want to play the game, you play in the no game, and that's a loser's game, but whatever. I love rules. I do. I love rules so much. I actually went to a party this weekend. My friend, for their birthday, they had this really beautiful play party. It was all about decolonizing sex for Black people. Now, I wasn't at the party fucking, but I was rolling around on the floor like I lost my goddamn mind. Like it was like ecstatic dancing, but Black people. You know what I mean? And they had this conversation about consent talk. And I was telling my best friend, and she was laughing so much. I was like, I didn't realize how much I love consent. Like I was walking around and I'm like, do I have consent to smile in your face? Do I have consent to touch your booty? Do I have consent? Like I walked up to my boyfriend. I was like, do I have consent to seduce you? Like just loving that, because whereas people who are not desiring to respect the other people because of this scarcity trauma of like, if other people get their needs met, I won't get my needs met. Therefore, I have to constantly override other people's needs. That comes from a place of fear of there not being enough, right? If there's only one plate of food and it's me and it's you, in my mind, either you eat or I eat, and baby, it's going to be me. But I love, being able to step into things and saying, I honor your boundaries because I won't participate in things that do not honor mine. And me honoring your boundaries does not mean that this is a sum zero conversation where you get what you want and I don't. So it's finding these scenarios in the world where it's a win-win. Even sometimes the win feels a little bit longer. My daughter talked me down. This is why she called me a Karen, because I was like, I think I should write a Yelp review for them. She's like, why would you do that? She's like, are you never going to shop there again? I was like, hell yeah, I'll shop there again. It wasn't that bad of an experience. I ain't really tripping. Like, because I'm okay with boundaries. I'm okay with tough conversations. It wasn't traumatizing for me. I recognize that that scenario could be traumatizing for people. But I'm like, I'm not a nice person. So it seems not nice for me to write those sort of things. But you have to understand that when y'all come to me and say, hey, when you did this, it made me not want to give you another fucking penny. Hey, when you did this, it made me not want to show up to another call. Those are really important feedbacks, because if somebody is willing to come and tell you that you broke their boundary or what you didn't like, imagine how many opportunities you may have missed out on by people not having the gumption to tell you, you fucked up, you lost their business, you disrespected them, and I am now, in business they call it a detractor from what your goals are. But thank you for that feedback, and absolutely, and it did bring up that acknowledgement of, I think part of what's wrong with our society is everybody thinks that if you get what you want, that means that I don't get what I want, and do not set the world up and interactions up for win-win experiences. Yeah. Thank you for triggering that memory.
A deep, deep thank you goes out to you, Baefriend, for tuning into The Shift Show. I'm Britteny Floyd-Mayo, founder of Trap Yoga Bae, your positive psychology advocate, and master confidence coach. I'm so glad that you joined me on this journey of self-discovery and transformation. My goal with Shift Show is to bring you real, raw, and unfiltered clips from live coaching sessions that can inspire you to live your best life and get your shit together. I'm so glad you joined me on this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Trap Yoga Bae to find out how you can be in the room live, as well as catch behind-the-scenes content and daily inspiration. You can listen to Shift Show everywhere you listen to audio. You name it, bitch, I'm there. Thanks for being a part of my Baefriend community. Stay fabulous, keep shining, and remember, you can get your shift together so you can keep your shit together. Until next time, Baefriends. Mwah.